You're good.
Okay.
What's up, Facebook Live? Happy early Thanksgiving. I'm Hunter Lewis, editor-in-chief of Cooking Light, and today we are making one of my favorite recipes from the Thanksgiving issue, sweet potato stacks with brown butter. This is super easy. It's an awesome holiday, elegant side. We love sweet potato casserole. I love mashed sweet potatoes, but this is a really cool new way to do sweet potatoes. It's very easy. You can make it ahead, and we're gonna be making it in a muffin tin today. This is a very versatile pan, and it's not just for muffins. We've been using muffin tins a lot to cook omelets. To cook little mini frittatas, to cook root vegetable stacks. And this is also a recipe. As much as we love sweet potatoes, and right now is the moment of sweet potato, as much as we love sweet potatoes, this is a recipe you can do with any kind of root veg. Big, thick parsnips, thick carrots. You could do rutabaga, kohlrabi, as long as it's turnips, as long as it's a fairly uniform size and fairly slender, you can make this recipe. So I've got one in the oven going, and I'm going to show you how we prep this. And before we begin, I want to show you a few different varieties of sweet potatoes. A lot of good supermarkets nowadays carry more than one. So this is your basic sweet potato. And then we've got some Maraski sweets. We've got sweet jewels. We've got purples. And we've got garnets. I love all of these. They've all got a very earthy, fairly sweet, distinctive flavor. And these, we'll cut into them. You'll see the different flesh tones. They're amazing. They're gorgeous. So if you're just joining us, we are making sweet potato stacks with brown butter from the November issue. If you guys don't have this issue, go out and get it. It's awesome. My favorite of the year so far. I'm being biased, but I love it. And today we're making sweet potato stacks. So let's get to it. Okay, so when you're cooking in a muffin tin, the key here is you want to peel the potatoes, and you want to start with pretty slender potatoes of fairly uniform shape. So I've got a big honking one here. This is going to be too big for the muffin tin. You can tell they're not going to fit in there. And we're going to be doing about 4 to 5 slices per cup. So we're going to start with something a little bit smaller, and we're going to shake it up for visual appeal and for a little different flavor and texture. And we're going to mix it up and try different colors here. So we're going to start with these Maraskis, and grab my peeler. So I like a wide peeler here. I know a lot of you guys use vertical peelers, whatever you're comfortable with. And look at this white flesh. This is the white, little bit starchier flesh of the Maraskis. And we're going to vary it up and kind of go on different hues of the orange and purple and white rainbow here with these potatoes. Okay, so do a couple of these. And while we're cooking here, I want to hear from you guys. What are you making for Thanksgiving? Halloween is over. I don't know about you, but Halloween seemed to last forever this year. What are y'all cooking for Thanksgiving? What are you prepping? What are your favorite sides? And do you take marshmallows melted on top of your sweet potato casserole, or is that sacrilege to you? Want to hear?
You?
Do I? You know, my grandmother begrudgingly used to make sweet potato casserole just for me, and she would put the marshmallows on top, but I think they're so sweet, they're so inherently flavorful that I'd rather have some candied nuts or some granola or something like that. I mean, look at that flesh.
Sweet potato is that again?
So this is the purple sweet.
Is that gonna stain, or not as bad as like a beet would?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
No, nowhere near as bad as a beet. Okay, and then these garnets, I love these garnets. It's kind of a funky shape. Embrace the ugly vegetable.
Why do you love those so much?
They've got a really rich flavor for a sweet potato, and I love the sort of slender shape of them. I grew up in North Carolina, which is one of the biggest sweet potato producing states, and you know, it wasn't until fairly recently that you could start getting different varieties at the supermarket. And so I love this time of year. You can go and try different kinds and just simply roast them and pick which one you like the best. Okay.
Even the scraps are gorgeous. The peels.
Totally. So what are we hearing from folks? How are people making sweet potatoes? We'd love to hear if you guys have any recipes with roots, any traditional recipes that you make this time of year with sweet potatoes. You could post them on Instagram and or Facebook and tag us with hashtag recipes with roots. Okay, get started here. Okay, so we're gonna make this muffin pan non-stick and do a little cooking spray here. And then we're gonna start slicing and layering. And just like when you're cutting something big like an onion, you wanna put the heel of your hand on the cutting board like this, and then use your fingers to grip it. And then I'm just gonna follow the blade of my knife. Nothing fancy, but we're just looking for fairly uniform slices so they cook evenly. You can use a mandolin for this if that's your bag.
Okay, so no marshmallows. Candied sweet potatoes for our family, like candy from Kelly. Karen says no marshmallows.
No marshmallows. I'm with Karen. Yeah, can we just ban marshmallows and sweet potatoes from here on out?
Okay, well, Carrie, brown sugar buddy, whiskey, and marshmallow.
Ooh, whiskey.
On top. I know.
I'm coming over to Carrie's house for Thanksgiving. Whiskey.
I know, it sounds delicious.
I think we might have just found an adaptation to this recipe. Maybe throw a little whiskey in the brown butter. Rum would be rocking for it too. Okay, we got our garnets here.
Oh, Katie puts a pretzel topping on hers.
Smart idea.
Yeah, it sounds delightful. She's allergic to nuts. That's a really good
I love
idea.
pecans on mine. We've been doing a lot of savory granolas the past couple years. I think a savory granola would be great. Big, thick clusters. Okay, let's get some of these purple ones too.
So would you say this is a good substitution for your sweet potato dish at Thanksgiving, or maybe just another variety?
I mean,
for a large
if
crowd?
you've got a crowd that really likes them, this will give you a different kind of texture. You can play it up. I mean, we love sweet potatoes so much that I would do one as a casserole, and then you could do this as a different kind of side. What this is going to give you is a little more structure. It's going to give you some height. I mean, you could serve them in a way like we did in the November issue here that is super beautiful. And it'll give you some visual appeal in the buffet too. Okay, so we're gonna start building our stacks in the pan. And I've already got one going, so we're just gonna do a few at a time. So we put 2 in.
It's so pretty. Do all these sweet potatoes taste the same, or do they kind of give off different flavors and textures?
Now each one's got a bit of a different flavor. Textures, some are a little starchier than others, but you're gonna get a pretty similar result in each. We're gonna mix and match. Okay, so next step, if you wanna come over, we're gonna brown some butter. And if anybody was watching a couple weeks ago, we did a really cool butternut puree on crostini, and we browned butter. So we're going to show you how to do that again if you missed it. And this is a great technique when you're making pasta, when you're dealing with fall vegetables. And we're only going to be using a little bit to add flavor. So as we like to say, for all the butter haters out there, embrace brown butter. It's going to make you a better cook. It's going to make for nuttier, richer food. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be toasting the milk solids in the butter, and those are going to begin to brown, and they're going to give off this beautiful nutty flavor. So stick with us for a bit. You're going to watch the butter transform, and then we're going to jazz it up a little bit with some some crushed garlic, and some sage. So we're adding a little crushed garlic in here, and this is just going to give off a little bit of savory, pungent flavor, which is going to balance the sweetness. And that's going to toast in the pan with the butter. And as we do this, we're going to add a little sage. So you can't do Thanksgiving without the flavors of sage, and this is going to add a really grassy herbal flavor to the brown butter, but also we're going to save some after we drain it. We're going to crisp up, and we're going to put these on the top of the potatoes. So these sage leaves will toast as the butter browns, and then we'll drain them and save them for later. And you just stir every now and then. You want to get some of the brown bits as they start to brown off the bottom of the pan. I mean, maybe we should just do a live with melting butter. It smells incredible.
So what happens to the sage leaves after this?
So we're going to save them, and we're going to drain them on paper towels, and then we're going to top the potatoes at the end with the cooked sage.
Smell-o-vision.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to give this another stir. So it's starting to get really nutty. You know, we're going past this sort of popcorn stage, and now we're getting this toasted almond smell. You can see it's starting to get a little darker, a little richer. And when the edges start to go a little browner, I know that that our butter has been transformed. So, you know, this is a great thing to use in pies. It's awesome to use in banana bread. You can use it for savory applications too, like what we're doing now. So if you don't use brown butter, try it.
Kristen just said she's had it over butternut squash ravioli with toasted pecans before. It's so simple and amazing.
That's a good idea.
Sounds
That's
really
super
good.
classic flavor.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to see here, see how it's all getting all foamy and happy here? And then the bottom, it's starting to get browned.
Is it over medium-high heat?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're done. Okay, so we're gonna drain the garlic and we're gonna drain the sage. Slotted spoon here. And we're gonna save the sage for later. See, check that out. See all the brown bits in there? It's perfect. Okay, so take a few teaspoons of this, spin them right over the stacks.
Can you add liquor to the brown butter?
Yeah, this is where you could add some whiskey. You could add a little vinegar, some apple cider vinegar would be awesome. gonna grate some cheese to put over top. And this is gonna give some good flavor that will really play well with the sage and with the brown butter, but it's also gonna help us glue our stacks together. Okay, a little pinch of salt. Okay, and then we're going to top these with the rest of our sweet potatoes. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, it's Flashback Friday here in the kitchen. Okay, so we're gonna finish these off, we're gonna top with foil, and we're gonna go in a 375 oven. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull out, it's my timer, perfect timing, pull out the ones I started earlier.
There's some extra brown butter.
And so I'm going to crank up my oven to broil. And you can tell these potatoes have been cooking for about 25 minutes, nice and almost tender. Yeah, knife slides through nice and easy. And we're going to finish with some more cheese, a little bit more butter, and a little salt. As we're doing this, if anybody has any questions about sweet potatoes, Thanksgiving, turkey, how to deal with obnoxious in-laws, whatever you got, let me know. And then a little more brown butter. And this is where we're coming off the bottom and getting some of these brown bits. More flavor. So broil these, get some extra color on them. And these will be ready to go. And I would serve these outside of Thanksgiving. I would serve this with any kind of roast, pork, some chops or tenderloin. It'd be killer with a roast chicken. Okay, and these are going back in. And we'll check those in a minute, get cleaned up, and get ready to serve. And we'll add some sage on the top. Be good to go. So one of the things I want to talk about, it's a misnomer that yams are sweet potatoes and sweet potatoes are yams. Sweet potatoes are actually a part of the morning glory family. They're not nightshade, which is kind of fascinating. And yams are actually part of the lily family. So they're two completely different animals. When you look searching for yams, chances are you're not going to find them at your average supermarket. You're going to find them at more specialty shops, African markets. And sweet potatoes have a bit of a smoother skin. A yam's got a really thick skin. It's got sometimes it's got a bit of sort of hairiness to it, and they're starchier and they're waxier than sweet potato. Like them both, but I wouldn't use them interchangeably. And oftentimes when people are talking about yams, they're really talking about sweet potatoes. Yeah, it's definitely Flashback Friday here. You guys can hear the music in the background. Okay, so we're getting cleaned up, ready to serve.
If our users are just joining, can you tell them how you did the butter again and what you're doing today?
So we are about to wrap up our sweet potato stacks with brown butter, killer Thanksgiving dish or any kind of fall or winter side dish. This is brown butter, and this is what we're using to flavor, in addition to Parmesan, what we're using to flavor the dish. And so to this butter, which we brown slowly over time, we've added some sage, some fresh sage, and some garlic. And as the butter begins to brown and gets nice and toasty and nutty, the flavors of the sage and the garlic are infused in the butter, and then we're going to save the sage and we're going to use this as a garnish and as extra flavor on top. So that's what we've done with the butter. This you can keep in the fridge. It's awesome for any kind of fall flavored dish. It's awesome as a little extra garnish. You can mix it in with some bourbon or some apple cider vinegar. You can use it as a finishing sauce on seared scallops or fish. It's a killer ingredient. It's also the key to making really good banana bread like my buddy Ben Mims up in New York makes. All right, so we have finished broiling the sweet potatoes. I'm gonna pull these out. They're looking great. Rebecca, if you wanna zoom in close here, see all the brown and bubbly. Look how good that looks. Out.
It smells amazing.
And you're leaving some of that butter back in the pan. You're not getting it all. You really want these, the more of these sort of, look at it, how awesome these caramelized toasty bits. It's exactly what you want, because that's where the flavor is. Okay, and so, remember we saved the sage. I'm gonna pinch off a little here. Throw that on top. And that is a sweet potato stack with brown butter and sage. I'm Hunter Lewis. This is Cooking Light. Go out and buy the November issue. We're gonna link to this recipe. There are about 100 plus more in the issue, and it's one of the best we've done all year. These are sweet potato stacks with brown butter and Parmesan and sage. This is what we're making for our Thanksgiving table. Thanks for joining us.